Okay, started recording. Let me put it in a comfortable spot.
I like
so
it.
we get the best quality possible. All right.
Decent quality.
Well, yeah, it's our first podcast. You can't expect too much.
It's not even a podcast. It's just a hangout.
You know what? I'm going to call it a podcast. This is podcast episode number 1. And I really actually like the name you came up with. Can you tell us?
The Dad Bod Fight Pod?
I still like that.
Oh, yeah. We're going with that one?
I'm happy with it. I quite like it.
Okay, cool.
Because no matter what, I got to think of a name when I upload this to YouTube because, I have to establish a name when I create a channel. So
you're creating a whole new channel for it?
I was gonna put it on the Jackson and
do it.
it would bring the views down on my vlogs. They get like 14 views a week.
You're gonna get it demonetized.
It might be possible, but I'm willing to take that risk.
Yeah, the Dad Bod Fight Pod.
Dad Bod Fight Pod.
It's kind of hard to say though, actually.
Yeah, in your head it sounds clearer than when you're actually saying it out loud a bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
We'll still work on it, and we have to think of. So, what's your nickname though?
For me?
Yeah. For just the overall podcast. I think I'm going to be... we'll think of one later. I was thinking I'd be the Fool. No decisions need to be made now.
I could go with the time tested the attraction.
There you go. Perfect. Go back to an old Jersey Shore playoff. I'll take it.
Do you remember where that came from?
Yeah, my mother, right?
The attraction?
Yeah, because there was the situation from Jersey Shore when we were younger, about the time we were in college. And then if I remember right, it was my mom who said Tomer was the attraction. Am I remembering that right?
Oh, I didn't know it was Carol that came up with it. I thought I just remember that you put it as my name in my iPhone.
That makes sense.
One night I think we were.
No, I remember putting it in, and I honestly think the origins were from my mother.
That makes it even better.
I was just the messenger. I didn't come up with it.
I like it even more now.
I don't know why she came up with you being the attraction. I do remember my mom.
I think we know why.
Well, that's many reasons. That's for another day, a darker day for me.
That's for the Patreon.
Yeah, it's a little extra.
We'll go over that on Patreon. Okay.
All right.
First up, we had. God, I don't even remember their names.
We had Santiago. We had. That's right. We had
Unahele Soriano and Dusko Todorovic.
Todorovic.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah, we gotta work on that. We can't start off with not knowing who was in the first fight.
They do have tough names. It's probably me the hardest part about this whole thing.
I know. I have all of them open.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to put phonetic typing next to them so I can see the flow of it. So what do you think? I'm going to let you start. What do you think of the first fight? I mean, first of all, incredible fights throughout the whole night. Absolutely incredible. I'm so excited we're back 2021. So what do you think of the first fight?
It was a really good start to the year. Yeah. It was perfect to be on ABC. One thing, or before we get into that, Dana said that they had a time slot, right? Because it's ABC. So they couldn't just go over.
They would have cut it.
Could you imagine if they would have cut that max fight?
It would have been wild. But Dana said the stars aligned that night because it ended at with a few minute buffer and things just ended perfectly for them. And I was so happy to hear that. It's so wild. It was UFC's on ABC too.
I know.
I thought that was really wild.
The ABC ESPN thing is insane.
I know.
So I didn't have a lot of expectations going in because I didn't know who they were.
Same here.
I know you said they were 2 undefeateds.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they should do that more often in UFC because as compared to boxing, because the undefeated, it doesn't nobody's undefeated in UFC, right? At least towards the end of their career when it matters, right? Everybody has a couple.
I can only think of one individual.
Conor.
Habib.
I wanted to trigger you.
Conor on paper, right?
Yeah. So it's like at least when younger guys come in, it's kind of fun. Whatever, like for a casual fan, I think it adds a little bit of marketability to the fight. Like, oh, they're both undefeated. Like, even though in UFC it doesn't really mean anything, right?
No, yeah.
But like, so when Todorovic came out, for some reason it just like when they try and do too many of those head fakes, it always kind of smells disaster to me. Like, there's a cockiness that just, for some reason, especially when they get to the UFC, it's like, I don't know if it works well, like, in smaller promotions or, like, in the Contender Series or what. But, like, that whole showboaty, like, Anderson Silva kind of head bob that exactly, like, that DC was exactly talking about. And then he's like, all it takes is just one. And these athletes are going to clip you. Like, even Holloway was doing it later, and we'll talk about it later, but, like, Kattar would still clip him, right? And then all it takes is that one. So that was kind of the biggest thing that I took away from that fight. Like, it was fun and exciting. I'm kind of glad that Soriano won just because it was just from that cockiness. It's always kind of fun to see somebody get knocked out like that. Mm-hmm. But I say that as somebody who's never stepped in the ring before. So
as of right now,
as of probably forever. So that was my biggest takeaway. What about you?
I'm on point with a lot of the same things you are. He came out so relaxed and so calm. There's a few points where he'd throw and his hands would just drop too, and at first, I thought his head movement looked great at first. And then I heard the comment from DC and you reiterated on it, too much of that and too much of that cockiness, you get caught, too much of that evading and not having your hands up, it's easy to get smacked, like you said, with the Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva fame where he's, juking left and right and Weidman just catches him. The one thing that happened in that fight that I'd never seen before was his mouthpiece got knocked out and stuck in the corner right after he got rocked. I mean, he got rocked. And I was thinking that recovery time has got to be great for any other fight. Because literally, even with that recovery time, he got the mouthpiece back in. And Soriano just got right back on him and just had that power.
I like how Herb Dean,
he tried to get it out of the corner.
No, he let the fighter look for it.
Did he for a second? I think you're right. You're right.
And I was like, if I'm Todorovic, I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't get it. I'm trying.
They just ordered a second one, I think, right? That was the result of it.
And then they eventually got it. I always wonder, how much, because I know, when I go for a run, is that stoppage always helpful to have that little break? Because, if I'm going for a run, I'm running downtown, so there's stoplights, right? And there's certain points if I get to a stoplight, I always got to keep moving because if I stop, then it's so much harder to keep going. So I'm always curious, to hear if that stoppage actually helps or if it hurts, or the 45 seconds in the corner, how much that helps or hurts. But I don't, that's not a question either of us can answer really, but.
No, I've never really been in a situation where I've been rocked or hit in the head so hard where I've had to do something, continue to do it, and then stop. I mean, we could experiment. We could come up with a test. We could bang our head really hard and try to get back to work, or we could give ourselves 45 seconds and see how we recover.
We could try the bat fetcher trick with your teeth.
That's true. So there's a few experiments out there, but if we really want to understand,
all right, we'll put it on the Patreon.
I think that sounds good. So
we'll do a live stream.
Yeah, so again, great opening fight to the night to the year, actually.
Yeah.
First round, I think there was 10 seconds left when they called the stoppage.
Yeah, 12, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing with Soriano is he was really loading up his punches, I think. He was really putting everything behind it, which, God, you can't critique. He won that fight in fantastic fashion. But I think if he starts fighting those higher tier guys, he might have to mix it up just a little bit, Just a thought.
I mean, at least he still looked,
He looked smooth, though. He looked great. He looked fantastic. He's an animal. He's a beast.
Yeah. But it's if you load up too much, I mean, you see it so many times where they miss and then get caught. In another fight, maybe a couple fights down the card.
But maybe he knew something we didn't. Again, after that
which
first...
is probably true.
Which is true for most people, I think. Because after he landed that first big shot that hurt him, that knocked him down, the momentum really changed, and I think he just probably knew he was hurt, and this was his chance to make a big, fantastic finish. But no, fantastic opening fight for the night, though.
I always like watching the guys who look calculated, and the guy that they're fighting is kind of a little bit more erratic. Mm-hmm. And like Soriano looked like he was not buying into like the head fakes or anything. He was just like
very calm with it. Yeah, didn't phase him too much. Yeah, I mean, he clipped him more than a few times.
Yeah, and he clipped him that big one, and he didn't go for the kill shot.
Mm-mm.
Like he kind of took his time, and like you hear the announcers talk about that all the time. Like you gas yourself out, and then like
oh yeah, you punch yourself out.
Catch you, or like
your arms just go. Yeah. They say you punch yourself out.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to box like for just 2 minutes, like on a bag?
Oh, it's probably, if not the most intense, hard. One of the most intense things ever. It's extremely difficult, and you realize how tiring it is.
Unbelievably, even just punching the air.
It's and just throw into that. Imagine fighting somebody else. They're throwing punches at you. You're really putting your weight in your punches too, and just the exhaustion that has to hit. It's incredible. I don't know. They're just athletes beyond even my realm of understanding.
And even listening to like Schaub talk about him, how they're like, how even a lot of these guys aren't really considered great athletes. Like when it comes to like elite athletes, because that's what he was saying. Like Greg Hardy himself, that he had above everybody else.
Oh yeah, well that's like the what's that test they give to the college football players where they test their like 40-yard and their lifting and all that. There's a name to it. I forget.
Combine.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Like the combine of obviously most NFL players is going to be ludicrous.
Yeah.
But for your average UFC athlete, it's probably nothing comparable to what's in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm wondering if these guys are even like right in that level of even a D1 college athlete. I mean, some of them I'm sure are, but like
D1 wrestling, at least some of them were. But
for sure,
in terms of football, though.
But even D1 wrestlers, like a lot of them were like junior college wrestlers or like D2, D3 wrestlers. Like, like I think Gaethje wasn't even like national champion, was he?
Gaethje's credentials, I don't know. He was a very strong wrestler. I knew that. I don't think he was.
But he wasn't like
NCAA or he didn't win a Hodge or anything like that. But he was a strong wrestler.
He was like a competitive athlete.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a superstar.
Yeah.
Like,
but look at
he's arguably
But look at who I love. For example, I'm a huge Ben Askren fan. I love Ben Askren. Won the Hodge twice, Olympian, and I remember him saying if you went to the weight room with him and you did weights, you wouldn't be impressed at all. No big deal what he does. But they say, and there's a few people that have talked about this, including Chandler, who's moving to the UFC, when he would wrestle with you and grab a hold of you, it just felt like a different level of pressure. It felt like a different level of pressure. And it's that technique that makes the sport so interesting to me. It's like, even if you took like a Khabib, I bet if Khabib went to the weight room, he'd strong guy, absolutely, but I don't think he'd be putting up, what comparable, football athletes at that level would do. But again, it's a different level of wrestling and grip strength that it's just like a different measurement that needs to be done for it. It's interesting in the sport.
I like, and this is the fun part about being like just two idiots bullshitting about UFC.
Yeah.
It's
a better name for our podcast, actually.
Two idiots. It's like we just sat here for 5 minutes talking about how like a lot of them aren't like superstar athletes, and there's DC is a gold medal wrestler.
Yeah. Olympian,
was an Olympian. Michael Chandler, I think, but
Chandler was a super strong collegiate wrestler, though, absolutely.
But there's already like we're talking about and there's two Olympic gold medalists that are like UFC champions. Like,
not gold medalists, but they were Olympians. Yeah, they were Olympians.
Oh, they didn't win gold medal? Cejudo got a gold.
Cejudo got a gold. He's DC did not get a gold. And Askren, I think he lost to a Russian. No, in the Olympics, it's not like a round robin or anything. I think you have 1 day of wrestling, and it's just single elimination. It's my understanding, I think. So it's real rigid, real brutal. It's very unforgiving. You basically train crazy amounts for that 1 day, for a 4-year period.
One thing that I've noticed right in the beginning of recording is how easy it is for us to stay on track.
No, yeah, I don't know where we're at now. I don't even know what fight we've talked about so far.
We are going to start talking about abortions.
It's going to come up at the beginning. You should tell the joke we were going to say at the beginning, just to keep it light.
Just keep it light. Joe, so what are your thoughts on...
Yeah, exactly.
on the Capitol?
This will get us views quick if we send some divisive message, though. Divisive message. Oh my goodness.
We're going to get banned before it even gets put up.
No, and sorry to disappoint all of our listeners. I think we're strictly MMA for now. So you can listen to our rugged MMA opinions.
Yep. All right. Next one. Buckley and Dick Rico and Alistair Rico.
Yeah. So. Jesus.
All right, go for it. Lead us off. I started the last one.
Well, I'll just, a lot of people probably don't know who Buckley is just by name, but, a lot of people would know that knockout from a couple months ago now. That spinning sort of sidekick heel he did to Impa that went viral. That nasty knockout. It's going to be on a culmination of videos for the rest of the time. It was such a fantastic knockout. And when the fight started today, he had a lot on his shoulders. He had that fantastic knockout 2 fights ago. Last fight, I forget the name of the guy he fought, but again, it was another TKO decision. Not decision, it was just a TKO. Fantastic performance, though. And I thought Buckley came out strong and aggressive. He pushed him back. He pushed, Alessio back. But then I found Alessio did a good job at keeping his range. He was throwing some nice low kicks. He kind of forced Buckley to really have to cover the distance with his punches, which makes them a little bit easier. They're a little bit more telegraphed, a little bit easier to dodge, it seems. And then I think it was, 3 minutes in, Alessio landed that nasty kick that hit him on the head. With
the shin straight to the top of the head.
Just feel the top of your shin. It's like a baseball bat to the head.
I know.
Oh, God, it was hard to watch. It was a big hit.
And that's not even trained shin.
No.
Have you seen those videos of those Muay Thai guys punching or kicking bamboo?
Oh, they have tree trunks for legs. I can't imagine they even have nerve endings there.
I think that's the whole point of it.
They just dead him out. There's just nothing there. It's just a rock. It's just a solid piece of wood instead of a leg.
And that the Buckley fight, the last Buckley fight was Jordan Wright. That was on the
Jordan Wright. Thank you very much.
That was the 255. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
that was the second round TKO.
It was a great performance by Buckley. He had a lot of momentum coming into this.
Yeah, I was always wondering how do win streaks only last so long, right, in the UFC, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure, typically, yeah.
But then again, there's the handful of guys, right, that go 11-12. I'm wondering if we're going to see kind of the end of that in this kind of third or fourth era of the UFC's kind of in. There was the first era, right, where it was just all Wild West and
jiu-jitsu reigns supreme.
yeah, exactly. And then there was that middle kind of era of the Anderson Silva's, the 2005 to
sort of the fast-paced karate stance.
2015 or something.
Oh yeah.
You got Chuck, you got Couture,
Tito
Anderson
Ortiz,
Silva, kind of all those guys, and it's still when it's kind of new, so you could get some people that would jump out ahead, so you could get some of these longer win streaks, like the Ferguson win streak and things like that, the first Max win streak, And now that I think it's matured a little bit more, you're starting to get a more parity, right? So any guy can kind of win on any sort of given day. And so Buckley had 2 spectacular knockouts, riding high. And I always think when is that going to end? Kind of thing. It's bound to, right? But all the momentum was for him going against Alessio. And it'll be interesting to see how Buckley reacts. It seemed like at the very end, he did just get knocked out, so I don't want to read into that at all. But he seemed to have taken it shit, I just got caught. He didn't seem super mad. He got right up and congratulated Alessio. So it'll be interesting to see if he learns from it, or if he kind of writes it off saying oh, I just got caught, or if he gets a lot better.
But, I really like watching how a fighter handles a loss. It's interesting, and it speaks a lot to him. There's nothing I enjoy more than someone takes a bad loss and they come back even stronger. Like you said, at the end of the fight, he popped up. He popped up a little too quick. He was still the leg. He was still kind of on wobbly legs, but he was an excellent sport about it. He seemed to be taking it like a champ. The next few months will come. Hopefully, he takes some time to recover. The one thing I always hear with these big hits is, you really need to give your body time to adjust and recover.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten a concussion?
There was when we were, when I did football at our high school, me and Tomer went to the same high school. For our viewers, They used to do this drill in football, and they don't do it anymore actually because it was so brutal for young kids. Basically, one person has the ball and you lay on your back about 20 feet away, and the other guy just lays down, and the object is to run at each other, and the guy's to tackle the guy with the ball. And I remember going against a much bigger guy who was already fired up because he'd lost the last few, and we went head to head, and I just remember blanking. I just blanked. I just went out. I just went out quick.
Yeah.
And then the coaches just laughed. Like, I remember I was probably out for 5-10 seconds, nothing crazy long. I remember they pulled me up. They said, "Oh, you had your first big hit. That wake you up?" Like, it was just so normal place back then. And I'm thinking now of the horrible damage that must have been doing to young kids, because that was such a common drill they did almost on a daily basis.
And it's like the worst time in your life to do that drill. It's
I know.
Half the kids are already like men, and half the kids are still boys.
Sure.
And,
talking about young teenagers.
They used to do the same thing in hockey. They would line it it was basically a gauntlet.
Yeah.
And they would just line up. The whole team would be 4 feet away from the boards in a straight line, and you had to go down the line.
That's wild.
One kid would just start at the top in between the board and all the kids, and you would just have to skate. You would get hit and then hit and then hit.
Yeah, I can understand the thinking of why they did it back then. They thought they were just getting you ready for what's going to happen in an actual game, but I don't really think the full understanding of the damage you're doing to your head back then was really around. And CTE was never a term we heard back then. We never heard anything like that. It was just...
And now because of that, I like what Rogan said about having kids do, the sparring when they're little, because, you can't punch very hard.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a fantastic point, yeah.
In hockey, they used to, we would start hitting around, 10, 11 years old, when most kids are pretty little. Mm-hmm. And so you can learn how to hit and take a hit. Mm-hmm. And then now they've gotten rid of that. So there's a lot of kids that are getting to, high school hockey, travel hockey, when there's that, size disparity, and they're just getting lit up.
They just don't know how to handle it, right?
Yeah. Anyway, back to Buckley, Puerto Rico. That was another one that was really cool. Buckley was kind of coming out, and exactly like you said, I really enjoy the range control of Alessio. I like when guys look super comfortable in there. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of, piecing them up a little bit with those smaller leg kicks, keeping them at distance. And then, you hit the nail on the head. Buckley had to reach in, and that's exactly what caught him. He reached in, I think he looked like he lost a little bit of balance. He did. He went down, right? When he level changed a bit, right? And he got caught right on the floor. Oof. Yeah, Alessio it didn't look like a very high kick.
No,
but it just, and there's a little bit of terror if you watch the replay. Buckley goes down to block it because it's been low kicks the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he notices just a little bit too late. Puts his hands up and you just him.
I wonder what the thought is in that. It's probably so quick you don't even get a chance. You're just reacting on instinct.
It's just reaction.
You're just reacting, and then you just go out for a bit.
Yeah.
He was pretty, I don't think he ever really fully went. I think he got dazed, but I don't think he went out.
Yeah, because I think he got, Big John was talking about on Rogan, there's 4 or 5 different types of knockdowns or something as a ref, what you look for. Did you ever watch that video?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a cool video.
It was really good, yeah. The job of a ref, though,
so hard.
Incredibly difficult, especially in some of these stoppages. And we'll talk about the Max one later, but, there's some discussion to be had on, if that should have been stopped, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, no, but, again, second fight of the 2021, first round. I think this one was a lot quicker, too. I think this was only a few minutes in. So, two pretty intense fights to open 2021.
2 minutes and 13 seconds in. And I try to I try, and here's where kind of the knowledge is limited a little bit, is I don't have too deep of a knowledge of the welterweight roster pool.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know who each one would go for.
I know it's tough because you got a lot of guys on the top of the welterweights right now. Obviously you have Masvidal, you have Usman.
Both neither guy is even ranked.
Oh really? They're still unranked. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought. I'm surprised Buckley wasn't, but I don't know if he'd be top 15 or at least.
Yeah, and middleweights. Right. Yeah. Wait. Middleweights or welterweight?
Was he middle or welter? Let's see. But no, I couldn't. You know, I always watch these fights with my mom, who humors me, and you know, she doesn't get quite as detailed as we do, but anyone can recognize a knockout. And those two fights she recognized. Middleweight. Okay, so out of the welterweight. No, yeah, I hear you with middleweight. Yeah.
Yeah, neither of them are ranked, and so yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't even know who to like put him up against.
Oh, for middleweight? Yeah, it's. Yeah. I mean, it's I was just looking at like the top 15. Okay, it's funny. Yeah. It's interesting. They have Chris Weidman at number 11. I guess he's still.
I was just.
Yeah.
Still kicking.
Yeah, God, but I mean, after so many years too. Ian Hench at 15. Yeah.
I think maybe if Buckley would have won, you could have given him Omari, Brad, or Ian. Maybe.
Right.
You could have given him one of those guys, but I think he's got to probably get another win before he can get a crack at one.
Yeah. Let him take some time, recover, like you said, get another win, But I got two awesome fights. All right, so next fight, what do we have here?
Ponzinibbio and Jing Liang.
So my girlfriend was very excited over this win. I want to let Tomer talk about the fight, which is something just funny at the beginning. You know, two fighters I didn't know. I knew more about Ponzinibbio than I did about Leung. You know, he was Chinese. My girlfriend's obviously Chinese. He's a plus 250 underdog going into this. So I was teasing her. You know, we always like to sometimes pick sides and have fun. Man, did he look fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm going to let you talk about it.
That one, again, is like, I know Ponzinibbio's name. Like, I didn't, that's the first time I saw a Lee fight.
Me too.
Ponzinibbio, I know just from the name, like a few years back, I think the last time he fought was like 2-3 years ago or something.
Was Magny, I think, was his last fight.
Yeah,
which he looked fantastic in. He looked great. Those kicks were brutal.
That was the fight that we were talking about that we're like, why? I feel so bad for Magny. He got...
Because that was the first time we'd watched Magny live.
Yep.
That was 2018.
Yeah, I remember feeling really bad for Magny. Like, he just looked outclassed, I think, in that one.
No, he did, and Ponzinibbio looked great. But then what happened to him? Something that caused him to be out, something with a bone infection or something? I'd have to look at it.
I don't know.
Something that kept him, but, you know, there's always an argument about ring rust, but, you know, if his last fight was in 2018, you know, I'm sure he had some, cobwebs to rattle off going in the cage.
Yeah, so that was the question. It was like, and that might have been that tiny piece on what actually ended up leading to the knockout.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Like, you know, we were talking about the head movement from what's his name, Todorovic in the beginning. Was like, you know, his hands were down, and it kind of looked it looked a little bit of showboaty head movement, right? Lee, you could see that it was a little bit. It was kind of as erratic, or I guess you could say erratic, right? He had this like weird kind of head movement.
He didn't stop.
But his hands were up. His hands were up, and it didn't look showboaty, right? It looked functional. Whereas Todorovic, right, I, from a casual viewer, like he looked a little bit like when Max was kind of showboating towards the end, right?
Right.
So the difference with Lee was like, and I think that's what really like that erratic is what drew in Ponzinibbio. Like when I think he started to get some of that ring rust kind of away, and then decided to like, all right, now I can try and throw something else. And then right there, he missed, and then Lee caught him with that left hook, right over the top, which was right on the chin, and just damn it!
I think we're still good, right?
The meeting no longer has a time limit. What does that mean?
I think we're good. I think normally there's a time limit, but I guess because I'm a new user, it's letting me go past it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I think that's what it's doing. Either way, it said we're good to keep going.
Well, all right, we can try and. I don't think we'll talk too long about the Brown Condit fight.
no, but it's your point on Lynn. I absolutely agree. You know, the one thing that threw me with him, he didn't stop moving. I mean, his head was everywhere, and he would do this thing where he was punching, but he wasn't trying to hit him. He was just like shadow boxing parts, just to kind of throw him off. And I feel like Santiago or Ponzinibbio, he never really felt, never was able to really crack him, never really find that. It was only the first round. A lot of times you take the first round to feel the guy out. But then towards the end of that, he was kind of pushing up on Lee because he had Lynn against the, he had Lynn against the cage. And that's when he threw the right and Lynn just countered, and that was all she wrote. And I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. It was such a solid shot. The biggest thing is I couldn't believe it was 3 first-round TKO/knockouts to open 2021.
Right, immediately.
Which I don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign, but it's a fun sign.
I mean, we got a good one next weekend, hopefully. All right, what do you think you kind of see them going next?
Lynn?
Are these guys ranked either?
Let's see.
Oh, yeah, they are. I just look at the rankings just to get
a flavor of who's there. Are they ranked?
Yeah, Lee was welterweight. I got it right up here.
Let's see what we got.
Oh no, neither of them are.
And they're welterweight, right? Let's see. So let's look at UFC rankings. Yeah, I may print something later just so I have this in front of me next time. So who's at the bottom? They actually have Connor. For welterweight Connor NR. For Lynn, I think he's it's probably ready for that step. Connor would make if Connor's able to get through Dustin, Lynn will be his next fight.
I guess maybe you could. Lee's coming off the loss to Magny. And
Magny fights this Wednesday, by the way.
Oh, does he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's headlining the card.
Chiesa.
Yeah, he's headlining the card. I think that's a tough fight for him, too.
Who did Chiesa... Chiesa fought a smaller guy. Or did he go down one?
Chiesa...
Wasn't that him,
that went up...
2-3 fights ago where he just totally dominated somebody?
Chiesa's dominated a lot. I can't think 2-3 fights ago. Let me see.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's all right.
Well, no, it's... This week's going to be awesome between Wednesday and obviously we have the weekend, which I'm going to comment on later, but not right now. But no, so next for... It's hard to say. God, I'm looking at the welterweight top 15. It is stacked more than I thought.
I know.
You have Kazmat, Lawler. You have Muhammad, Luke, Magny. There's Michael Chiesa, Maya. God, you have some monsters in here still. Man, I really do hope they make the Gilbert Burns Usman fight happen at some point. Just out. For Lynn, it's hard to say if he's unranked right now. I'm even less familiar with the unranked people, unfortunately, in each division. But either way, it was a fantastically strong performance.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it's good practice to you got some good things to look up for the next time. A couple of these other potential guys that could fight. I think Bilal Muhammad's got a good one coming up. Hamzat, I think he just dropped out of one.
Yeah.
But I think Hamzat's kind of looking for a higher level name. You got to figure out which one of these guys would want to fight an unranked person.
Well, yeah, it's tough. Usually you don't. Usually unless you're really trying to get some wins under your belt and you think you have the real method to beat the guy.
Yeah. Robbie Lawler, he's not fighting anymore, is he?
I didn't hear that he's retired. His last fight, obviously against Magny, didn't go his way, but I haven't heard that he's stopping yet.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe put him against Jeff Neal or something again. Give him another crack at a mid guy. Give him
a rank guy. See how he does.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, again, he's got that. His movement was crazy. He seemed like a hard puzzle to crack. But no, again, third fight, fantastic fight.
Super fun.
Super fun.
All right. Matt Brown, Carlos Condit.
Yes.
It was this one was one of those wrestling ones that was kind of fun to watch a bunch of the switches. What'd you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it was the first time I hadn't missed an audience too much in a UFC thing until I was really hearing the crowd cheer when certain takedowns were happening or when Matt Brown was switching on Conduit and that sort of thing. It really made me happy to have a crowd back. What really, looking into these two, I knew the names and I knew them very well. But these guys have been in the UFC forever. I mean, legends of the sport. So a lot of their big fights in their prime were a little bit before our time, but I was looking, Carlos has fought Woodley, GSP, and even won a decision over Nick Diaz, and this was in 2012. How crazy is that? How long? It's 2021 now, so we're talking 9 years ago. And then Matt Brown, he's fought the who's who too. He's fought Lawler, Hendricks. He beat Wonderboy back in the day. And so not only is Matt Brown 40, but the years of fighting he has under him. He's got a lot of fights under him. But
it kind of showed through a little bit in this one.
Yeah, well, that second round, he was taking deep breaths early, like real heavy.
And that's something like, he was. I had him winning the first round.
Me too. I think most people
winning
did
the first round, and for some reason, like you don't really. I feel like you don't really see a lot of guys come out in that second round after being dominant on top or relatively dominant on top and be that gassed.
Yeah. He was pretty winded.
And then it was just to the races. But he's 40 years old or whatever.
He's 40 years old with 3 kids, and I don't know how many fights and wars he's been in. So, but again, for 40, having all that under his belt, he still looked great. He still looked good. He still looked great. And that second round, obviously, if you watched it, you saw Carlos do that, which I've never seen before, that sort of sidestep in takedown, which I thought was just the coolest thing. I absolutely love that. It was a lot of fun. I've never seen anything like that, so it was completely new to me. And I didn't think there's too much that could surprise me in the sport anymore, but it always tends to prove me wrong every few months. There's always something. There's always going to be something. But
that leg sweep was cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And even stuff that's like not surprising is like something that still I can't get used to either is like elbows from top position.
Yeah.
On the like that always is so brutal to me.
Just
and like
pure elbow into their side, yeah.
And like sometimes you can see their head like bounce off the camp. That's so brutal.
Oh yeah.
Like crazy.
I remember the first one I saw was when Conor fought Mendez, and Mendez had these. They weren't like heavy, but they were like slashing. They would call it.
Yeah.
They were fast, and he slashed, opened Conor up. But I love that you're talking about the second round, and as everyone's going to know, I'm a huge Conor fan. I can't help it. I just love Conor. The second round with the Mendez fight, Conor's got this big cut from being gashed. You expect him to be really demoralized. He's been taken down. He's smiling at him, beckoning him to come forward, blood pouring down his face. How cool is that? That was just so cool.
It's like I don't know. There's some crazy adrenaline that I guess you can get.
I'm sure.
When you're like I guess you don't feel it or something. Sure.
And again, these people are probably just about as tough as you can get. I think they're just built different too.
Yeah, and probably mentally somewhere maybe a couple screws are misplaced.
Yeah. But I just like to imagine you had top control and someone, you split them open, you're going to the second, you're feeling good, and he's just smiling at you, beckoning you forward.
Like, it's one thing like being on the ground and seeing those elbows rain down on you.
Yeah.
But like, do you think you have that kind of instinct to be able? Would you be able to look somebody in the eye, like from a foot away, and slam your elbow into their forehead?
I think you need a certain amount of aggression in you that I don't know if I have anymore. Maybe when I was talk to me when I was 19, full of angst, but I don't know if I could do it anymore. I couldn't.
No way.
I don't have it in me. There's no way. There's no way. No, there's no way. But again, different breed of human being, I think. But it was great to see these old legends fight. The ground switches were insane. The fight was going around. I had it 2-1. Carlos, I think you did too. The judges actually gave the first. I think most of them gave the first one to Carlos, which surprised me.
The judges did.
Yeah, but we know how judging is in the UFC.
Yeah, I guess maybe they were. Because I guess
he was on top control.
He was defending well from them.
Yeah, he was. He was doing great on the bottom. Yeah. He was. But again, Matt had like over almost 3 minutes, I think, of top control. But again, he didn't get a lot of aggression off. He didn't get a lot of damage in. But I don't know. They saw something we didn't, I guess.
Yeah. Carlos kept going for like it was kind of weird too. He was like going for that whole third round. He was like, it seemed he was going for a Kimura.
Yeah.
And it like just didn't work. And then I guess that's when it really showed through that Brown was exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like he was wide open, like could slip out or something.
Yeah.
like I could have slipped out of that.
Yeah, exhaustion took him early. It's again the age and the years of fighting. But again, two legends of the sport. Was happy to be able to see them fight live, even if it's their last few fights.
I don't know what's really. I think Dana said that that was Condit's last fight on the contract.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I think okay.
I think
so I don't know what they'll do. I mean, I know Dana White's been going through that spree of unfortunately he had a lot of fighters go. So I don't know where they're on the list, but hopefully everyone's taken care of, financially, and it's something they need to do.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd really bring it. I guess that's a good point. I kind of forgot about that for a second. How would they cut in all the old guys, and then Silva's gone.
Yoel, they cut Yoel.
Yeah, Yoel's gone.
Yeah.
If they're not defending, if they're not really being a gatekeeper, like Condit's not going to be a gatekeeper for anybody in that division.
Right.
Let him go off and make some money somewhere else, right?
Yeah, that's the hope. Right? You just hope these guys are taken care of.
Yep. And now.
Oh, wow.
Creme de la creme.
Yep.
The fight of the night.
Who fought again?
But it was
Max Holloway. Calvin Kattar.
Yeah. I was really looking forward to this one. A lot.
Me too.
Obviously more than any other fight on the card.
On the card, yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of excited to see if just off the hype train of seeing if Buckley could throw another fun knockout.
Yeah.
But this one I was actually legit excited about, to see two really good boxers.
Mm-hmm.
That's always exciting. And it definitely delivered in a way that I was not expecting it to. I thought it would be a lot more evenly matched. And I think, I don't know if I agree, or let me ask you, a lot of people are throwing out fight of the year candidate.
Well,
what do you think?
It depends how you call fight of the year. When I think of fight of the year, I kind of like a little bit of back and forth. I don't think many would argue this fight wasn't extremely one-sided. It was, as most people put it, a clinic.
Yep.
Max is just
50,
phenomenal.
42.
Right. And I think Max broke the record again for most significant strikes in a fight. Some over 400 plus, I think. Just a ludicrous number that I can't even get my head around. But Kattar's an absolute beast for being able to endure as long as he did. But Max just put on a clinic. I mean, his combinations, he switches it up to the body, to the head. His defense, too, he got hit very little that fight. The thing with Max,
he did take a bunch of shots.
Yeah, he took. He never looked hurt though. It never looked phased. He never looked like it bothered. Yeah, he definitely took shots. You're absolutely right. What the thing with Max?
Yeah, it didn't look like he got touched, or it didn't look like they did anything, and I think that goes into a little bit of what people are saying it should have been stopped, which we can get into in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry to derail your...
No. I'm glad you brought it up, because to your point about Max getting hit, I remember seeing his post-fight interview, and he was so much more beat up than I thought he was during the fight. He had bruises and cuts, and I was like, he got hit that much? I know he got hit a few times.
I had... where was I? I would take a little bit of notes for round... I would separate it out by notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had after round 2, I said, cut man needs a raise. It's good as new.
Yeah, when he got cut on the forehead, yeah.
I had the same thing after round 4 and after after round 2, after round 3, and after round 4, I had a note, cut man needs an award. They both looked like they were coming out for the first round with that.
At the beginning. Yeah, right as they start the round, they look fresh.
Yeah, I wonder what it is, why Max looks like he takes damage, because Kattar got a couple of jabs off in the first round.
Yeah,
Max was already
teeing off. Yeah,
and if there, I guess a couple of reasons, either Max shows damage a little bit more easily.
Some people do,
or probably what's more likely, maybe a combination of both, is that Kattar's a beast too.
Sure.
And, like, you know, he's arguably one of the better boxers. At least that's what he's known for in the UFC, right?
He's very slick.
And,
Kattar's very slick.
Yeah.
He's very slick.
And so he's got some power behind him. So if he's hitting Max hard enough to show damage with just a couple jabs in the beginning, that goes even to show even more of a testament towards Max, like, how he didn't like wobble him once. Like, he landed some solid shots, right, throughout all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was so much fun.
That
fight.
It's the reason I watch UFC. It was just an absolute blast. It was just start to finish. How Max kept that pace for 25 minutes is just beyond me. It really makes me believe some people are just born genetically different with cardio sometimes. Yeah. It's phenomenal. But Max is the absolute definition of a volume puncher. He's never going to knock you down with one punch, or rarely, but I mean, he'll knock you down with 100 punches accumulating over a fight. He's the definition of that type of fighter. It's similar to how Nick and Nate fight, Nick and Nate Diaz. They're going to accumulate a bunch of strikes over the fight, but how Calvin survived all that, I have no idea. Yeah, so we might as well. So now we're going into the fourth. Max is just at this point. I mean, he's just found his groove. He's found his rhythm. He's slick. There's this picture online that's funny actually. It's him slicking back with the jab, and they put Muhammad Ali doing almost exactly the same thing next to each other, really? And they look almost identical in a way. It was kind of a cool comparison. But no, so at the end of the fourth, my initial reaction when I was watching it, because I was watching it with my dad, I just said stop the fight. I would have stopped it. The damage started to felt needless, and he was really covering up for a while. But then in the fifth, Max did, I think, punch himself out a little bit. Max rallies well, though. He'll take a minute or two to kind of get it back, but then he'll go back into his rhythm. But, Kattar came out and was fighting in the fifth. I mean, he was still there.
He was even in the fourth, he was throwing.
Sure. Right after I said they should call it, he started swinging back. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they should. But there was this 30 second period where it just looked real grim. He was his guard was high, he was ducking his head down, and he was just Max was just kind of punching out. But and maybe it worked out, it didn't stop. I think Herb Dean was the ref, my favorite ref, and maybe he just felt comfortable letting it go. I love Herb Dean, My initial reaction, though, if I have to be honest, was I said stop the fight.
I would have stopped it too, and I think maybe that's because we're relatively newer fans, or at least this is how I look at it. Maybe you think about it the same way. It's I want to see there's damage enough, right? So how much the amount of damage is diminishing returns at this point, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see these guys be able to be in tip-top condition, see how much more fun it is to watch, a well-oiled Max, right? When he's in the groove, he's talking to the announcers, not looking, punching, slipping, which was nuts.
I thought that was
so cool.
So I thought that was so cool and fun. I know some people were being, they have their opinions, whatever, but I thought it was.
Showboating stuff.
I thought there's one where he doesn't look at him and hits him with a jab as he's. He was talking to DC at one point, apparently.
Yeah, he said, "I'm the best boxer," or "I'm the best boxer in the UFC," and he's not looking and he punches, slips a few at the same time.
He just at that point, I think Max just knew. There's a very small percentage anything's going to get me out. He just felt real comfortable, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was awesome. I like a little bit of. I don't mind a little bit of showboating. I don't.
No, and that's I think why I lean towards ending the fight in the sport is because the whole argument was that Kattar was still landing what looked like powerful shots.
Yeah, he looks like he hits hard.
Anything to Max.
Yeah,
they weren't doing anything to Max. So it's what's the point of staying in? The point of staying in is because you think you can clip him one last time and knock him out, right? Because at this point he was down 40 to 35 or something.
Yeah, there's already a few 10-8 rounds in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was only going to win by knockout at that point or stoppage. Yeah.
And if your hardest punches aren't even phasing him, it's not even like you. It's not even like you have to wobble him, but if your hardest punches aren't even getting to slow down. Mm-hmm. Then what's the point? You're only going to lose. We've
talked about this before. I 100% agree with you, and I always lean on the side of the early stoppage. Even you never want a fight to feel, as Herb Dean said before, inconclusive. It could have gone either way. Sort of like the Askren Lawler stoppage.
Yeah.
Topic for another day, but it seems like with these fighters though, a lot of them like going out on their shield, and I never. But to me, that's still not a good argument for letting it go on longer. But Kattar's just such a beast. I think he would have hung in there forever. And
the whole point of going out on your shield is you're admitting you're gonna die fighting.
Exactly. It's sort of like that old school tough guy mentality. Take it on the chin.
If this is your career, this is your career,
I know.
Then take the L.
I know.
And live to fight another day.
I know. And maybe if he was on here, he would tell us. He's like, I had the fifth. I think I still could have done it. I would have always never forgiven myself if I went out like that. So, but again,
that's why we're not fighters.
No, exactly, and that's why we're calling for the stoppage. But a lot of people seemed. I mean, I saw a few tweets. People saying it should have been stopped. I don't think it was the most egregious thing for it to not be stopped, especially the way Calvin was handling himself after that little rally. So in the end, it all worked out fine, which is good.
Yeah. And with the lighter weight classes, I think you have a little bit more wiggle room.
You definitely, I think you have to weigh that to the equation. Yeah, these are 145ers.
So that's part of it. But I'd always rather err. I'd always rather make a mistake with a shorter stoppage and have the guy be fine.
Yeah.
Than make a mistake and let it keep going. Because you're going to make mistakes either way. You're going to make mistakes. Which mistakes are worse?
Yeah, exactly.
Letting it go longer is usually the mistake is worse. So
yeah, and I don't think a ton of people would have hated that stoppage either. I don't think so.
But now the fun part. Where do you go now?
Well, here's the trick with Max. A lot of people thought he won that second fight against Volkanovski. I was one of them.
Yeah. And a handful of people thought he won the first fight too.
Sure. And, I think he won the second pretty soundly, actually. I thought it was a 3-2 even sound. But the thing is, I don't know how excited you can get people just yet, and maybe you can, about another Volkanovski-Max fight. I think Volkanovski set to fight Ortega, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I think you got to kind of let them fight, let the dust settle. I think in a perfect world, Ortega wins. Because do you remember when Max fought Ortega?
That was another clinic.
Yes, that was another, and that was actually a stoppage because he had taken so much damage. Ortega. Yeah,
that was a fourth round stoppage, I think.
Yes, and that was one of the first times I saw Max fight live, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy does not stop punching."
I think that was after the Adesanya Gastelum fight, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh, that was a hell of a card then. That was a hell of a card because that fight was ridiculous.
That was I think the main event. That was the fifth fight.
God, and I know we're jumping around a lot, but what does it say about Gastelum that he gave Adesanya such a fight like that after what Asanya's done to Whitaker and Costa? I don't know. MMA math is a weird thing, man. It's very
fun. And that's what might make the Ortega fight a little bit more interesting with Volkanovski, because that would seem to be like the definitive or the difference with Max with Volkanovski's wrestling, the threat of wrestling, right?
Sure.
And so if Ortega's going to be a lot more of a threat from on the ground, I don't know how it works out, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Volkanovski try and keep it standing a little bit more, and against Korean Zombie, like Ortega showed, a lot better boxing. Much better,
much better, especially against Korean Zombie, who's a monster. Yeah.
Even though he looked a little bit slow in that one.
Yeah. Zombie looked a step behind he used to be, but a
little bit of a zombie.
Well, there you go. Well, he took that one nasty knockout. Remember that upper behind the back from
Yair
Rodriguez. Yeah.
It was like the final seconds.
That was an ugly. I mean, his body just went limp. He was totally gone.
That was it.
But I know we keep dipping out on different stuff. But Ortega versus what? It's funny though. Volkanovski pointed out. He put out a tweet. He said, "Max, that was a great fight, but he's like, you're not landing that amount of strikes against me." And he linked what their last fight was. And it's a point, Max couldn't get into Volkanovski as much as he could with Calvin. So, I mean, I think they're always going to be a close fight, those two. I'd have to rewatch to really understand what a new game plan for either one, how would really help them. But they're just very evenly matched.
Where's the... all right, what do we got? We got Volkanovski, Holloway, Ortega, Zabit, Yair, and Korean Zombie. That's your top five. I think Calvin takes some time off.
Calvin should take a lot of time off after that. Even though he didn't actually get knocked out or anything, that was a lot of damage to the head in particular. So let him rest up.
Who do you put for Holloway? You think you wait for Holloway? You think...
When's the fight scheduled for... Let's see.
Volkanovski and Ortega.
Is it March? Let me see.
I don't know.
I think they... You know how they do like those soft announcements sometimes where they don't really have the full card established?
Oh, no. It doesn't. It only has the...
Maybe
has
it's
his previous fight.
Maybe it's still not official because I'm not seeing... what's this? So Alex versus Bull this is probably sometime in February. So nothing's official yet. Nothing's official. But if it goes down in February, I think that works out well.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That'll give Max time to rest up.
Sure.
And then...
Sure.
And then so that would put a fight against either Ortega or Volkanovski maybe for the summer.
Yeah. I think that'd be ideal. Even if they did the fight in March, I think you can still hang on to Max for another month, you know?
You think Max takes another fight not for the belt?
I don't think so. I think Max, and it's hard to dismiss this, really believes he's the best in the division. And I think, especially after that clinic he just put on against, what was Kattar ranked? He was ranked 6 or something?
6.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the list right now.
And it's not even like you're putting on a boxing clinic against a jiu-jitsu guy.
No.
You're putting on a boxing clinic. You're putting up a stand-up clinic against one of the better stand-up.
Exactly. That's exactly
in the division. You're
exactly right. I can't, because I'm looking at the names here. You got to beat Yair maybe, but I still give
but
Calvin.
Why would Max fight 4?
It wouldn't. The goal is to get to the championship again. I think,
especially like a name of Yair, they're good for fight fans, but it's.
Yeah,
there's nothing really there for even Zabit or Yair.
I don't think it's a lot to gain on either party, to be honest with you. It's not a fight that would. Any fight with Max will excite me, but it's not going to excite me near as much as Max fighting. Let's say Ortega wins, and they do a rematch. I just think that. I think in a perfect world, not in a perfect world, because I don't want it's making it sound like I'm hating a Volkanovski and want him to lose. But in a world for Max that's perfect, Ortega wins, and then Max and Ortega refight for the belt as their rematch, and I think that sells well and looks good too. Because Max did work to Ortega. What was that, 2-3 years ago?
What if you think if Volkanovski wins, you think maybe Zabit jumps the line?
I don't know. How do people feel? I don't have a problem. I might be the minority here. I don't have a problem seeing Max and Volkanovski fight a third. I don't. I really don't. I know it's not the most exciting thing from like a dramatic point of view because they've already fought twice, but I don't have a problem watching them fight again. And I don't know. Give Max one more fight maybe between. But again, like you said, I don't know what it's accomplishing.
If anything, Max, his domination over that division is, I think I think the only reason why we don't want to see it again is because we've already seen it twice before.
And nothing really changed too drastically from the first and second fight either.
Yeah, but it's like it still would be a fun fight to watch again, I think.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
It's almost like it just feels weird because it never really happens to get a third fight, right?
No, I know. Yeah,
but,
usually.
I think it would still be interesting and it'd still be a fun fight.
Yeah. Now, would it be more interesting if the judge? It would be, but I think it would be at least if the judges gave the nod to Max on the second fight instead of Volkanovski.
So I think if the judges gave Holloway the second fight, then I think we're lining up for this would have been the third fight.
This would have he would never have done this. They'd be the tie.
We would have had a third fight.
But it's funny how that's more interesting automatically, just because sort of the judges told us it would be more interesting. It's the same fight happening.
It's exactly the same thing.
It's the same fight,
nobody's mad about seeing DC Stipe for a third time.
No, I wasn't mad at all. I'd watch them every weekend.
Man, those body shots, that was hot. That was great.
I rewatched that second fight so many times because I'm such a DC fan. The fourth round, when all of a sudden Stipe makes a switch and you hear Rogan go, "Ooh, he keeps hitting him there." And you can see it really starting to hurt DC. And up until then, DC had been winning the fight pretty soundly. I had him up all the first 3.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, same thing.
Then, real quick, I got to bring it up. Next weekend, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier.
Are you taking? What's your? This one's so hard. Like Poirier he's fought. Well, when was the last time Poirier fought?
Khabib, right? He fought Khabib last. No, he fought Hooker.
You're right. And he beat Hooker, right?
Yeah, that was a war, though. But he beat him pretty soundly. Not, I shouldn't say soundly, but he definitely took the easy nod in the decision.
Let's see. So I think...
So he fought Hooker, then before that he lost to Habib.
Yeah, that was only in June.
Yeah, it was not that long ago.
June, September... Yeah, so they both... I mean, since Connor fought last, they both only have one fight.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Poirier was that September one, so... Yeah, I don't think...
Oh, and then Dustin...
then
Dustin fought Max before that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And that
right.
was... But that was a